Imagine that one day you turn to your partner and say, "Hey babe, how about we wrap the Arc De Triomphe?" It's 1961 and everybody smokes. To which she doesn't answer, "Have you lost your mind? Get yourself a real job." No, she looks at you with a twinkle in her eye and says, "Yeah, let's do it." "Let's do it," she will say later about wrapping a stretch of rocky coastline in Australia, and the Pont Neuf in Paris, and the Reichstag in Berlin, about pulling a curtain over a valley and putting thousands of umbrellas over the landscape on 2 continents. And 10, 20, 50 years on, whenever your eyes meet, they will always say, "We are so doing this." So last week, when I stood in front of the outrageous, absolutely useless and marvelous creation that is the wrapped Arc de Triomphe in Paris, I didn't need to ask what's the point and what were the artists trying to say. It was right there in my face. I'm Boriana, you're watching Art Unplugged, and in this video I'm going to talk about dreams, arcs and triumphs. So stay tuned. If you are new to the story of the artistic duo Christo and Jeanne-Claude, I invite you to watch my video on them, which I have linked in the description below. Christo first thought of wrapping the Arc de Triomphe in 1961, while living in a small room not far from the monument. An immigrant from communist Bulgaria, 3 years earlier he had met Jeanne-Claude, who became his life partner and collaborator. Even 10 years after her death, Christo continued to use the present tense and first-person plural when talking about their projects. We don't just wrap things. We don't wrap the Eiffel Tower or the Sacré-Cœur. We wrap something profound, he said in an interview in March 2020, just 2 months before his death. Most of their projects required years of jumping through bureaucratic hoops. It took 24 years to get an approval for the wrapping of the Reichstag in Berlin. But the Arc de Triomphe plan was approved within a year, thanks to the young president, according to Christo. I can talk to you about meters of fabric and rope used, number of workers involved and so on, but this is not what this video is about. It was the first Christo and Jeanne-Claude work that I could experience live, and I want to share with you what I thought and felt when I saw it. The Arc de Triomphe is one of the icons of Paris. It was commissioned by Napoleon Bonaparte in 1806 at the peak of his fortunes and was intended as a tribute to his personal glory and the everlasting glory of the empire he was building. We know how he ended and what has happened to many a great empire, including his. The Arc is a beautiful example of the neoclassical style in art which was in fashion during Napoleon's era, about 50 years before the Impressionists came and turned everything upside down. Its 4 pillars are decorated with sculptural groups, immortalizing important victories during the Napoleonic Wars of the early 1800s. We can even see Napoleon himself here, being crowned by the goddess of victory, no less. On the facades of the Arc, there are 6 reliefs representing important moments of the French Revolution and the Napoleonic era, focusing mainly on generals shown in dramatic scenes. A recognition to the fallen soldiers was added only after World War I, with the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and the eternal flame in memory of the dead who were never identified. All in all, the Arc is a monument of military triumph, symbol of Napoleon's imperial ambition, a display of testosterone-fueled power and old-fashioned glory, with all its grand gesture and fanfare. A glorification of war, a monument of the most hyper-inflated ego history has ever seen. The wrapped Arc, however, is anything but that. It is sleek, stern and quiet. The contrast is overwhelming. with the pompous images of battle and imperial glory gone from its surface, it emitted a new type of beauty, silent and dignified. And by not being dedicated to a specific person or historical moment, it had acquired a personality of its own. The wrapping had erased war from its surface and left it with the pure grandeur of its monumental architecture. I was there on a day with changing clouds, and the silver surface responded gently to the varying light. I thought that the Ark looked like a temple. The monument of war had been transformed into an object that called for quiet meditation rather than patriotic excitement and national pride. It had a new transcendental property, not a monument anymore, but a Platonic idea. Christo and Jeanne-Claude have always insisted that their projects do not carry a political or any other message. Yet the act of transforming a historical monument of this scale inevitably calls for revisiting history and examination of established social values. What do we call a triumph of human achievement? What deserves to be immortalized by a monument? What do we need monuments for? Doesn't the very appearance of a quiet temple in the very heart of Paris signal a shift to a new set of values, a turn to a more spiritual view on life? Then there is the question of beauty. Can beauty be isolated from meaning? Can one and the same object be beautiful in two mutually exclusive ways? It cannot be denied that Christo and Jeanne-Claude had big egos too. You have to have one in order to believe yourself capable of realizing massive projects that are totally irrational, totally useless, as the artists like to say. Projects that nobody needs, that the world can live without. Looking at the Ark, I also wondered what was their claim to fame as opposed to Napoleon's. On the one hand, under the silver wrappings was a man who ruled, conquered, plundered and destroyed as much as he built. On the other, there are Christo and Jeanne-Claude, two people who dreamt the most outrageous dreams and realized them on a monumental scale, against all the odds and for no reason at all, just because they believed they could do it. And even death didn't stop them. Standing in front of the Arc De Triomphe in the crisp morning air, it dawned on me that the overarching principle and the underlying message of all their work is one: that freedom is possible, that it is achievable if you have the courage to stand up for it. And no, the world may not need a wrapped Arc De Triomphe, but it certainly needs more dreamers than conquerors. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I hope you found this interesting and thought-provoking. Please hit the like button, share and subscribe with the bell in order to receive notifications for my future videos. If you're interested in my work as an artist, you can find me on social media. All the links are in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye.